In his speech to Congress, U.S. President Donald Trump made only brief references to Israel and the Middle East in his latest address, despite high expectations the ongoing conflict would be mentioned more. ILTV's Mayan Hoffman is standing by in Jerusalem with the story. Mayan?
Shosh, here in Jerusalem, just a stone's throw away from the U.S. Embassy, the embassy that U.S. President Donald Trump moved in his first term from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. I watched the televised address last night, the address that Trump delivered to a joint session of Congress. And despite much anticipation here in Israel by leaders and laymen alike, there were very few references to the Jewish state or even the broader Middle East.
In the Middle East, we're bringing back our hostages from Gaza.
Several released hostages and the families of freed captives were in the audience during his address. Yet, as you heard in the opening soundbite, Trump only briefly mentioned them during his more than 90-minute speech. While he gave personal shout-outs to a handful of individuals, none of the former hostages, including U.S. Israeli citizen Keith Siegel, received such recognition. Trump did highlight his role in achieving the Abraham Accords.
In my first term, we achieved one of the most groundbreaking peace agreements in generations, the Abraham Accords. And now we're going to build on that foundation to create a more peaceful and prosperous future for the entire region.
He also made a passing remark about regional instability.
A lot of things are happening in the Middle East. People have been talking about that so much lately with everything going on with Ukraine and Russia. But a lot of things are happening in the Middle East. It's a rough neighborhood, actually.
Beyond that, the only other reference to Middle Eastern affairs was his request for lawmakers to fund a Golden Dome missile defense shield for the U.S., which he noted was modeled after Israel's system. Many Israeli leaders had hoped Trump would use this platform to announce America's support for Israeli sovereignty over Judea and Samaria, especially after he hinted at an upcoming policy stance on the matter just 4 weeks ago. So, Shosh, I attended an event at the Friends of Zion Museum here in Jerusalem yesterday with a number of key Christian leaders who had come in from the United States, people like Reverend Tony Perkins and Ralph Reed, all of whom were touting this idea of sovereignty over Judea and Samaria in the aftermath of October 7th. However, as I mentioned, that was notably absent from Trump's address. In addition, there were key leaders here in Israel who were believing that Trump would make some new sweeping statement against Hamas, condemn the terrorist organization that is refusing to accept the U.S. Ceasefire for hostage agreement that Steve Witkoff has put forward. But again, no mention in Trump's address.
Thanks so much for that report, Mayan. Now, the Emergency Arab Summit held in Cairo has endorsed Egypt's counterproposal to U.S. President Trump's Gaza plan for the reconstruction of Gaza. Here's more with ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
Egyptian President al-Sisi came up with the plan for the post-war reconstruction of Gaza after President Trump shocked the Arab world with his Gaza plan that would remove the Palestinian population, with the U.S. owning the enclave. Unlike the Trump plan, the Egyptian plan calls for leaving the Palestinian population in Gaza, rebuilding without displacing its people. Al-Sisi announced details at the conference closing session. His plan includes temporary management of Gaza by independent Palestinians in preparation for the return of the Palestinian Authority and with no role for Hamas.
عملت مصر كذلك بالتعاون مع الأشقاء في فلسطين على تشكيل لجنة إدارية من الفلسطينيين المهنيين والتكنوقراط المستقلين توكل إليها إدارة قطاع غزة انطلاقا من خبرات أعضائها بحيث تكون تلك اللجنة مسؤولة عن الإشراف على عملية الإغاثة وإدارة شؤون القطاع لفترة مؤقتة وذلك تمهيدا لعودة السلطة الفلسطينية إلى القطاع.
The Egyptian leader says his nation has trained Palestinian security personnel.
على تدريب الكوادر الأمنية الفلسطينية التي يتعين أن تتولى مهام حفظ الأمن داخل القطاع خلال المرحلة المقبلة.
The new Arab League proposal received the backing of the UN chief.
I welcome and strongly endorse the Arab-led initiative to mobilize support for Gaza's reconstruction clearly expressed in this summit. And the UN stands ready to fully cooperate in this endeavor.
Israel has yet to officially comment on the Arab League proposal for post-war Gaza reconstruction, but a statement was released from the Foreign Ministry, expressing disappointment that the summit failed to address the realities following October 7, 2023, with a firm condemnation of Hamas having caused the war.
Thanks so much for that report, Steve. Now, the handover ceremony establishing the new IDF Chief of Staff happened here in Israel today, where Major General Eyal Zamir was named the 24th IDF commander. Zamir is stepping into this role during a complicated time in Israel as more information continues to be revealed about the IDF's failures on October 7th and ongoing conflicts surrounding Israel. Let's take a look at who Zamir is and what could be ahead for him in this term. Major General Eyal Zamir will be taking over as the IDF Chief of Staff starting tonight, just 1 month after IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi announced he was stepping down over the military's failure on October 7th and to prevent the massacre from happening beforehand. Zamir also steps in at a time the country is in limbo over the current ceasefire deal, wondering if more hostages will be released anytime soon or if fighting could possibly resume. The 59-year-old has held several critical roles in his time and most recently served as the Director General of the Israeli Ministry of Defense. Zamir was previously considered twice to lead the IDF in 2018 and in 2022, but ultimately Lieutenant Aviv Kohavi and Halevi were selected instead. Zamir will be taking office at the same time the IDF's probe and investigation is being revealed to the public about the security failures that happened on October 7th, including the systemic failures on the Nahal Oz base. All of this as Zamir steps into the role with Israel facing mounting pressure on multiple fronts from Syria, Hezbollah, and threats coming from Iran about possible attacks in the future. He also will be tasked with dealing with the growing concern of terrorism, with Hamas looming in Judea and Samaria. Over the last few weeks, the IDF has conducted intense operations inside of Jenin. Other challenges Zamir will likely face is the issue of the ultra-Orthodox not drafting into the army, as the IDF faces manpower problems. Zamir will also need to reinstill the public's trust into the IDF, as colossal failures from October 7th have caused waves of distrust as to how the IDF could prevent a massive attack from happening like that in the future. Now we know the term Zamir is serving is for 4 years. Now, the IDF carried out targeted killings of 2 top terrorist commanders on separate fronts. The targets included a Hezbollah commander in Lebanon and Hamas commander in Samaria. Here's more with ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
The IDF has confirmed that it carried out a drone strike near Tyre in Lebanon that killed a Hezbollah commander said to be planning attacks against Israel amid the ceasefire. The commander, Haidar Hashem, was responsible for the Hezbollah naval forces in Hezbollah's elite Radwan commandos. The army said that Hashem was involved in efforts to smuggle arms to Hezbollah via the sea and planning naval attacks on Israel, including during the period of the ceasefire. Meanwhile, in Samaria, the IDF killed the head of the Hamas terror network in the city of Jenin. Hamas commander Isar Sadi was killed during a joint operation by the IDF and undercover border police. The incident came amid the IDF's expanded, ongoing anti-terror operation in Jenin and elsewhere in northern Samaria. According to the IDF, there was an attempt to arrest Sadi, but the forces came under fire. During the exchange, Sadi and a second gunman were killed and 3 wanted men arrested. Troops uncovered a number of weapons in the building where Sadi was hiding.
Thanks, Steve, for that report. And with the ongoing operations inside of Judea and Samaria, and with recent terror attacks here in Israel, joining us now to discuss is Brigadier General Reserve Nitzan Nuriel, the former head of Counterterrorism Bureau at the Prime Minister's office. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good afternoon.
Now, let's first discuss the new IDF Chief of Staff that is taking office today, Eyal Zamir. He's taking office at a very complex time here in Israel with a large counterterrorism focus, with operations happening in Judea and Samaria, and this current pause in the ceasefire deal. Tell us what you think Zamir's top priorities likely are as he steps into this role.
I believe that Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir has 3 main missions. 2 of them are not related to the military operation, is the budget issue as well as the long plan to recover the IDF. And the second issue is the ultra-Orthodox recruitment process, which is both are in a way political issues, but he needs to handle them. From the military point of view, he has to understand and translate the cabinet directions into military operations. We need to understand that the military does not pick his own missions. He has to understand what the political echelon are looking for him, try to figure out the details, and then launch a military actions. And those are the three main challenges he has to deal with.
I want to talk about these large operations that are happening right now inside of Judea and Samaria. We reported earlier in the show that the IDF is saying that they killed a Hamas commander there yesterday. How significant of news is this?
Generally speaking, whenever you kill someone, it's probably for the short term a good news. In the mid and the long term, it does not really change the picture unless you are talking about someone who belonged to the level of Hassan Nasrallah or Imad Murnia. If we are talking about the average leaders, it will create few days or week of best position for us, but for the long term, somebody else will come, take over, and again, we will have to run after the number one or number two in all those organizations.
Yeah, and I want to definitely now talk about, there were two recent terror attacks here in Israel that took place. We're actually hearing right now that one of the victims of the Karkur stabbing terror attack, this car ramming that took place, actually just died. Just a tragedy. These two happened within the same week. Tell us how security, internal security here in Israel will be dealing with the ongoing threat of possible terror attacks that could happen in the future. How will they handle that?
We are in the beginning of the Ramadan month, which statistically, the numbers of terror events in Judea and Samaria, inside Israel, at that period are always high. The way to deal with them is as much as we can, police on the streets, soldiers, and yet I know that they are very busy in other fronts. But if we want to make those potential terror events short as much as we can, we need armed people on the street that will be able to understand the situation and stop it. Obviously, unfortunately, sometimes we have people who make mistakes and we have casualties among us. But the only way to make sure that that wave of terrorism will not be too strong or too wide is to have armed people on the street, well-trained and ready to take responsibility.
Thank you so much for your time today and your perspective with all of your knowledge. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
For generations, owning a home in Eretz Yisrael has been a cherished dream, one of faith, heritage, and belonging. Now, with Sparta Real Estate, that dream is within reach. From the spiritual heart of Jerusalem to the vibrant Jewish life of Vernana, the seaside beauty of Netanya, or the energy of Tel Aviv, Eliyahu Kleinman will guide you every step of the way. With beautiful homes at various price points and all bureaucracy handled for you, it's never been easier. Scan the QR code now, and Eliyahu will personally help you find your home in Israel.
After spending 505 days in Hamas captivity, two released hostages are finally back home. Elia Cohen and Omer Wendkert were released from the hospital and returned home to feel these embraces from their extended families. Meanwhile, in another heartbreaking day for the nation, Israel laid to rest Ohaya Halumi, a hostage who never made it back alive. ILTV's Ariella Lachiani reports.
A hero's welcome for Omer Wenkert in Gadara. Thousands gathered to celebrate his return. Wrapped in an Israeli flag, he kissed the mezuzah and embraced his family. He expressed his gratitude, but also stressed that the fight is not over as 59 hostages remain in Gaza. Wenkat's mother and father echoed that message, standing before the crowd with tears in their eyes, reminding them that every family deserves to experience this moment. His grandmother, wrapped in an Israeli flag, clapped and cheered, saying she hadn't truly lived for 505 days while he was gone. More than 16 months after being kidnapped from the Nova Music Festival, Wenkat took to social media to share a simple yet powerful message. It happened, I'm free. In a video, he danced with his father, saying, "There's no price for freedom. I had almost forgotten how sweet and beautiful it is." Just hours earlier, former hostage Elia Cohen was also discharged, beginning his journey to recovery at home. His family, overwhelmed with emotion, called it a moment of strength and hope. Cohen emphasized that his return is not the end of the mission, raising a shirt with the face of his friend Alon Ohel, who remains captive. But not every hostage made it home alive. In Rishon LeZion, crowds gathered to escort the body of Ohad Yahalomi to his final resting place. The 50-year-old was abducted from Kibbutz Nir Oz and murdered in Hamas captivity. Yahalomi was shot in the leg as he tried to fight off his attackers on October 7th. His 12-year-old son Eitan was also taken, but was freed in November 2023. His funeral in Kibbutz Nir Oz was closed to the media, a private farewell for a man who fought for his life until the end. His colleagues said they would forever remember his dedication and bravery. The joy of homecoming, the pain of loss, both defining Israel's reality today.
Thanks, Ariella, for that report. And now the first ever private company promoting immigration to Israel has now launched a bold campaign promoting the importance of Jews coming to Israel to shape the future. In Belong's social media campaign, they are reviving Theodore Herzl's vision, but in a Gen Z-friendly way. Let's take a look.
I'll be damned. A Jewish state? They actually did it.
But hey, what about the most important thing I dreamt of? Liberal. Did I not say liberal? Israel was always meant to be a free, liberal state for all the Jews around the world. But the way things are going, it might not stay that way.
Herzl.
Israel is at a crucial crossroad. And now, it's up to you. Yes, I'm talking to all you Jews around the world. And of course, all those eligible for the right of return. Israel needs you. 18 million of you can claim your Israeli citizenship right now and help shape Israel's future. 18 million. I call it demography for democracy. This is your right now, and it's the right thing to do to ensure we'll always have a place to belong.
Belong, securing Israel's democracy. Belong.co.il.
Nice beard.
Thanks.
And we are now joined by Elan Gilad, the CEO of Belong, and Dr. Liraz Margalit, a behavior specialist and head of research at Belong. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Liraz, I want to start the question with you. The first question, tell us why there is such a demand to get young people to come to Israel right now.
Because this is the time that will shape the future. There is a frame we call success momentum. So the momentum is here, right now. And we just have been in a very difficult moment, a very difficult time for Israel. And young people have the right and also an amazing opportunity to shape Israel's future. And if they really want to do it, there is a momentum right now, and not only a momentum. We always say that Israel is theirs the same much as it is ours. So if they have the right to do something amazing with their life, to come here, to shape the future, to get a voice, to get their values being heard, this is the time, and I think they should take this opportunity with both hands.
Now, Elan, there was very specific wording in this campaign. Tell us why you decided to use Theodore Herzl as a stepping off point for this campaign.
So when we're looking on Theodore Herzl's vision of having a liberal state here in Israel, he was saying liberal. He wanted this to be a liberal state where you have everything, from thieves to professors, and we'll have a variety of all Jews around the world. So we want, really, Israel was founded as a home for every Jew around the world. We want to make sure that their voices are heard here as well. and we want to continue the momentum, as Liraz stated, of the vision of what Israel was founded for, as a home base for every Jew. And we want the diversity. We want to see everybody here. We want to see here a liberal, democratic Jewish state. And that's why we started with Herzl, and we went back to 100 years ago, or even more, from Basel to the foundation of Israel, and to nowadays, where we're kind of reshaping Israel's society. We're building Israel after a harsh timing that we have, and the war and what have passed on us in the last couple of years. And now we're rebuilding. We're trying to reshape our society.
I want to talk about, there's been a rise of anti-Semitism around the globe. In the United States, there's been problems on college campuses. How do you talk to young students or young Jews around the world about this? And what's usually your message to them, Liraz?
So we say that there is just one place, but there is another thing that we really like to emphasize, and I think it is really important to make this distinction. And we don't say them to come here because of the anti-Semitism that they are experiencing, but because there is another reason. This is the right. So what we like to say is that even if things were perfect, they should still come here. And I think that this distinction is very, very important. We say that this country is their own country, and it's not just a far away place that it says in the Bible that they belong to. No, this is not the reason. The reason is that because we have an amazing people here, liberal people, and we have a democratic society. And what we need right now is more people like us. And this is why we want them to come. And there is no other reason that we say that they should come, not because of fear, because of values.
I would add that, there is a mission. Building the state of Israel is a mission. It's not over yet. We're still in the Zionism and making sure that Israel will last here forever in this shape. And if they want to make an impact, this is the time they can make an impact. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. And now, this is the right time to come and join us and help us shape how Israel should look years from now down the road. If you make an impact at the early stages, you can see the difference or the impact a few decades from now.
Yeah. And just one more quick question. We were really short on time, but tell me what's some of the reasons why some people are moving to Israel right now?
So yes, anti-Semitism and the growth of anti-Semitism is one factor that pushes them here. But on the other side, as Liraz stated, the opportunities in Israel are amazing. And we have here a culture that enables them to unleash their potential, to be in a society that embraces them, that helps them grow, and they contribute to us no less than we contribute to them.
People are looking to for big opportunities to do something with their life, and now, they have this amazing opportunity. So what we say is just take it.
Thank you guys so much. I know that there is a QR code people can find on their screen right now to scan for more information. So appreciate your time and coming into the studio today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's move on to our weather. Let's take a look at the weather forecast. Cloudy skies are expected around most of the country tonight, with temperatures reaching lows of around 12 degrees Celsius or 52 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow we'll see partly cloudy skies alongside steady temperatures, seeing highs of 19 degrees Celsius or 65 degrees Fahrenheit. That is a wrap for today's news. For the latest updates from Israel on all your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channel, subscribe to our newsletter, and explore our website, ILTV.tv. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Shosh Bedrosian. Thanks so much for joining us.